Hello guys and welcome to this module. In this video, we will be analyzing successful essays from former students of mine who were admitted to ultra-competitive universities. And regardless of whether you are applying to these kind of institutions or not, reading essays of this caliber will help you expand your horizons, hopefully get some new ideas, new perspectives to help you elevate your own personal statement. So the first essay is from a student who got admitted to MIT, and the essay prompt says share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one of you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. So he says, the alphabet is such a fascinating subject. With a total of just 26 letters, there is an endless amount of combinations that make up over 170,000 words. And that's just in the English language. The alphabet is the foundation behind each of the names that we know, places we've seen, things that we love, words that we've spoken. Some people's lives have been impacted by a single letter, such as the difference between parents and parent, whereas others may have had their life changed by a single phrase, such as I do. If I had to say what word defined my high school career, though, it would be a combination of four letters, ISEF. Going into high school, many students have different goals and expectations. I pretty much heard them all. Losing your virginity, going to your first party, graduating at the top of your class, going out with your middle school crush. My goal, however, was a little different. Just like how letters won me the golden opportunity to represent my city at the Scripps National Spelling Bee, I wanted my dream as an engineer to allow me to represent it once more. My goal was made up of just 5 letters, again. Through any means, I would bring myself to that grand stage again. My sophomore year, I received my first chance, an invitation from my biology teacher to make a science project for the LISD Science Fair. He told me that if I won at this stage, I would have a chance to represent my city one more time at the international level, and introduced me to the very letters that shaped my high school aspirations, the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, known to me as ISEF. A letter was sent to my home from my school asking me of my decision to compete. My answer back, 3 letters, a yes. That October 2019 was spent in search of not just letters, but words, ideas, and dictionaries worth of inspiration behind what I would use to take one last challenge and win. And that's what I did. I found inspiration from my role model, Elon Musk, and added a spin to his Hyperloop idea to create my concept, the Hydroloop. As January 2020 rolled around, competitions arrived, and the moment was there. Nothing could have made me more happy than hearing these words. And the grand champion of this year's LIZ Science Fair, who will go to represent Laredo at the Regeneron ISEF, is Ken Yaguchi. And so my efforts brought my dream to fruition. I had up until spring break to prepare my project for the final frontier. That is, of course, until a combination of not just letters but numbers completely shook my world, COVID-19. After the pandemic swept communities worldwide, Regeneron made the decision to cancel ISEF 2020 for the safety of each of the students and would have competed that year. As I wrapped up my last day as a sophomore through a Zoom meeting, there was just one thought left in my mind. What was going to happen? As that opportunity was left stranded and my junior year began online, I heard what I needed to hear, both from Regeneron and my teacher. ISEF was back, and for the first time, virtual. As time went back, though I wanted to compete, I was lost. As October ended, I had yet to even think of an idea. My parents both caught the coronavirus, and for the first time, I was afraid. Not just afraid of the things happening around me, but afraid of myself, my inability to act. And as Thanksgiving came in, I found my inspiration. Just like before, my decision to compete was the same 3 letters. Using an upgrade to the Hydroloop's previous concepts, I spent the next 40 days before the deadline, drafting, modeling, testing, and organizing my project to compete at the LISD Science Fair once more. hours before the deadline, and I still wasn't even sure if I could even get it done. Regardless, I did it again. And after a hectic virtual competition, I had the chance to hear those same words again. And most importantly, I achieved my goal. Those same letters, 5 letters again. Regeneron Virtual ISF 2021 was filled with great experiences, but most importantly, it taught me one lesson. Any goal can be surpassed with a commitment to achieve. Okay, so here obviously we're starting with a really powerful and interesting item, such as the alphabet and letters, is how he started to play with the symbolic meaning of these letters in order to convey his idea. Chronological narrative, and he's giving us some sort of flashbacks that with those memories, he's transporting us to that specific event and taking us with him to the 4 years of high school. And he's not centering on the competition itself, but the challenges around the competition, the external challenges that he faced, and the internal challenges that he faced himself as he went through the internal challenges of his mental health, finding focus once more, and definitely the health of his parents. Back in the day, lots of people were focusing on COVID itself. And I remember one of the first drafts of many students were primarily focused on how COVID impacted their lives. And here you can see we can mention, in this case, COVID, but not as a central piece, just as as a factor, and mention it as a side note, but always focusing on the lessons that he learned throughout this experience. So this is a great opportunity to get some inspiration and some ideas on how you can also tell your story. Here, this is an optional reflection, but I highly recommend this for students who are actually intentional on applying to highly selective universities. So I would encourage you to take a few minutes to answer the following questions in your own Master Google Doc. And this is only for students who are seriously considering applying to highly selective universities, because this reflection will help you really develop some deeper understanding of what makes a college essay truly memorable. So I would recommend you to go over these questions and answer them on your Google Doc. Let's go on to the next essay. It says the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you face a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from this experience? I had the perfect game, but I was missing the essential piece. Each weekend, my family and I gathered to play Mexican train domino, a tradition that captures hours of strategy and competition, yet a bonding experience. Glancing through my fichas, domino tiles, the dots on each tile seemed to align in a flawless pattern. Caught in a trance, I prepared my game on the sidelines, fixated on connecting those colorful dots. However, said dots, which seemed to depict so much of my life and experiences, didn't align as well as I thought in the grand scheme of things. There was a gap, a missing feature to bridge the disconnect I felt with myself. I sifted through my domino set again and again, but I couldn't pinpoint what feature I lacked. So I started eating from the sopa, the soup, the pool of domino tiles that can help you continue playing. I drew and drew, comí. Indeed, these additional features enhanced my game, but I failed to find the linking tile that would bring me peace in this game and in my life. Amidst the pursuit of this missing feature, La Sopa gifted me a full scholarship to attend Caminos al Futuro, a 3-week leadership development summer program spent with 12 other high-achieving Latino students who essentially became family. During our first lecture, the professor showcased a slide on the board. These dots represent your distinctive hometowns and the percentage of Latinos that live there. Now, everyone, go up to the board and guess which one is yours. Confident in my observations of my town in the 2 years I lived there, I was the first to get up, writing Livingston. next to the lowest percentage, 5.4. To nobody's surprise, I was spot on. When it came to create our community in action projects, our task was to address an issue in our towns that catered to Latinos. For me, this was the lack of recognition of Latinos in a town that celebrates the rest of its ethnic diversity. As my peers and I discussed how we wanted to give back to our communities through our projects, I felt validated in a way I had never felt before. I bonded with peers who, like me, felt disconnected from their cultures yet yearned for a deeper connection. This newfound familia helped me find a feature that I had been hiding in my own domino set all along: my essence, spirit, and drive, all of which are fueled by my passion for giving back that's rooted in our culture. To put it simply, attending Capinos reinforced my confidence in myself, linking my pride in my culture to my capabilities. With the newfound feature, my game gained a momentum, reigniting a fire that was always present with me. I dared to execute Sazon, a Hispanic heritage festival in Livingston, which brought the Latino community in town together and materialized the inactive 5.4 statistic. With this initiative, I found that I could truly embrace my culture and share it, something I hesitated doing attending Laticaminos. Looking back on the path I've made with my features in this current round of life, I appreciate how each built a part of who I am. I realize that the game of domino isn't about attaining that perfect game, but rather how to create your unique pathway and rebound from setbacks. As La Sopa is being shuffled to start a new round in my life, college, I want to make sure that regardless of where I go, my essential domino piece, pride, is always a part of my game. If I ever find myself short-handed, I know that within La Sopa, I have a community that can support the uplift me, offering me the path to the missing feature. Okay, so here we see a very specific setting. The hook is taking us to a, tradition that she has with her family, which is playing Mexican train domino. And at first, our thought was to concentrate more on the actual game and introduce some of like her parents and other family members, how they contributed to her own development and growth. But then we started playing with the symbolic meaning of the fichas, the domino tiles, and assigning symbolic meaning to those objects instead. So while we also do, we're following a chronological order that allows the reader to appreciate the growth of the student and give more context on her specific activity of Caminos al Futuro, which is located on the resume, but most importantly, what she did with this experience, what this experience represented for her. Because many students who participate in summer camps, they see them as items on a checklist. And as if in and of itself, attending those camps would help them strengthen their application. But what they really want to know, what admission officers want to know, is what did you learn from attending those camps, those experiences, those summer programs. So here she's connecting not only the newfound familia that she created while attending the summer camp, but also the community action project that this summer camp enabled her to do. So as well, I would like to suggest doing this optional reflection, especially if you are seriously considering applying to highly selective universities, such as those. I will leave these questions here for you to pause the video and go answer them in the master Google Doc. And the last essay we will analyze together is from a former student who got to Princeton. So the essay says, what do science, Richard Feynman, Spider-Man, and Buddhism have in common? The cultural elements above have influenced me to see the world as an interconnected and hopeful place. While technology and science help people survive dangerous conditions like freezing storms or harsh summers, I believe that technology and science also enable the human spirit to be filled with optimism and happiness. I see science becoming ever more pervasive around the world, and that excites me because it will allow people to have a taste of the optimism and happiness that technology and science bring. This view has heavily influenced by my favorite quantum physicist, Richard Feynman. When I first discovered him in the sixth grade through YouTube, I instantly resonated with his message. The prize is the pleasure of finding a thing out, a kick in the discovery. Ever since, I saw the world as an ever optimistic place because discovery can bring pleasure to all, not just scientists or engineers. Everyone loves a hero like Spider Man because they are individuals of the highest courage and are trying to do the right thing. That this is where Spider Man has influenced me. His character showed me the world needs superheroes to inspire and to save the world from dangers like climate change. These influences drove me to challenge myself with two AP classes, one dual credit course, and two clubs: FRC Robotics and Science Fair Club. All of these challenges helped me learn from crisp to pulse width modulation, which increasingly influenced me to consider working in the space industry as the problems in it require multidisciplinary knowledge. However, the more committed to my goal of working in the space industry as a biomedical engineer, the more I let my relationship with my family deteriorate. One night, my mom walked into the room and she starts yelling, ¿Por qué está todo descolorido? Estás haciendo un trabajo de segunda. Imprime tu proyecto otra vez. Why is everything lacking color? You're making a second-rate quality project. Print your project again. But now, with hindsight, I know it was because I had neglected my family excessively in order to succeed in school. This was a significant challenge because it affected me individually and it affected my family. The values and skills I learned while overcoming the challenge boils down to principles of detachment, impermanence, and the practice of meditation. The first principle of detachment involves being able to separate yourself from external influences. Before I learned this, I was engrossed in all my classes and clubs, which caused large amounts of unnecessary stress. Detachment allowed me to distance myself from the thoughts of stress and school so that when I was with my family, I would be concentrated on them. The second Buddhist principle of impermanence helped me achieve profound realizations. I have a limited amount of time on this earth. Nobody knows that, but few act upon this fact, so they forget. Now that I know that my time is limited, my attitude and taste and state of mind evolved. See, I believe that everything material goes away, but our human bonds are eternal. Even after we die, people still remember and care for us. Thus, thus, I would invest my time with my family. The last thing I learned to apply into my life's imbalance was meditation. This practice allowed me to have an introspection, which allowed change. I quickly reflected on the imbalance between school and family. This imbalance was the cause of my soul sickness. With this self realization, I quickly made an even greater effort to finish my work, to spend time with my family. I learned that trying to be with them caused me to finish my work twice as fast. Never in my lifetime forget this experience of imbalance because it allowed me to grow as a person and has prepared me to overcome any obstacle that comes my way. So you can use a similar hook style for your essay, especially if you're using some form of montage to connect different ideas or different topics in a way that help the reader get to know you better. So again, the principles that I taught you: be memorable, show, don't tell, having a balance between descriptive writing and reflective writing, being vulnerable, opening your heart, showcasing your values, all of those principles, you see them manifested in all these three essays that I showed you. So remember that when you are writing your own drafts, ask yourself, am I really using show, don't tell? am I really aiming to have a balance between descriptive writing and reflective writing? Because that way you can edit your own essays in making sure that they follow those principles. So here is the last optional reflection for those of you who are really committed to applying to these high level competitive, ultra competitive universities, to help you start reflecting on deeper connections for possible topics for your own essay. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts in our next session. See you next time.